Cycling for me has never been about the bikes. They've only ever been the prerequisite tool. I do not see just a bike race, I see riders on heroic journeys and warriors doing battle. At one point, cycling was the most popular sport in Europe because newspapers told magnificent tales about epic races and crafted the great champions into legends. But with the advent of television, cycling lost some of its mystique, and that golden age of journalism and narration has perished. So now let us try to return some romance to the beautiful sport. Let us praise and give glory to phenomenal performances to be remembered for decades to come. Let us dwell on the moments that inspire and move us. Let us chronicle the rise and fall of heroes. Let us chart these life-changing journeys, these cycling odysseys. All right, welcome back to another episode of Cycling Odysseys. I'm your host, Patrick Santino. Let's see, what are we doing today? So another tour stage rewind from 2020. I probably haven't said it in an episode or so. So if you don't know the format of the show, I guess stay tuned, stick in, listen to one. And then if you want more clarification, I have a bunch of intro episodes that basically fill out what I tried to explain I do in the intro. So they're the first couple episodes of the whole show. So go check those out. Worth the listen. And at least the first one is. Let's see. Yeah, so today, this was the first summit finish of the tour this year. It was another pretty wild one. Definitely a good whet the appetite kind of stage, like really give us a little feeler teaser of what was coming. Again, the American telling the French how to run their race. This was a little too soon for such a big mountain stage, even though it finished on a category 1 climb that really probably could have been like a category 2. But anyways, come on, tour. I mean, it was unorthodox and it was an unorthodox year and the tour was wildly successful, so I'll give you it, but I'm very happy with your traditional looking 2021 profile, as I will talk about at some point. I didn't get around to that yet, but I will talk about it at some point. Anyways, let's rewind here. So I did think, see if you can see, if you forget what happens, try to remember what happens without looking at results by the end of this, because I don't think I say the winner until the end. Maybe I do say it right at the beginning. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, so I totally did say the result right at the beginning, so I deleted that part just so that you guys could have fun trying to guess who won. So here comes a 10-minute long Jeopardy question. See if you can figure out who won. A changing of the guard on Orsières-Merlet. Tour de France 2020, Stage 4, Sisteron to Orsières-Merlet. 160.5 kilometers. It was a beautiful stage of the tour, dear readers, but allow me to cut to the chase. It was all about the final climb today, as we all knew it would be when the route was announced back in October. At the end of the stage was the summit finish up the Category 1 Orsières-Merlet climb. Yes, dear readers, you are right. This is a famous climb. It was here in 1971 that the volatile Spaniard Luis Ocona demolished Eddy Merckx, the cannibal, the greatest of all time. In 1971, Belgian Eddy Merckx was already cycling royalty, having won the Tour in 1969 and 1970. In dominant fashion on both outings, surely not even a freight train could stop him, for Merckx was the freight train. And yet, here came a challenger to Merckx. While he was certainly still at the peak of his powers, and even already in yellow amid the 1971 Tour, Ocona had not the confidence of Merckx. Insecurity was in his temperament from an early age, and was reinforced in his career by being so often the bridesmaid, but never the bride on the podiums before. But in 1971, on the road to Orsières-Merlet, Okana summoned such mighty strength it seemed as if one of the Olympians or Asgardians had aided him this day. Had Zeus zapped him with a thunderbolt, giving him a rush of super strength? Had Mercury lent him his winged sandals so that he might fly up the mountains? Did Thor act as Okana's rear guard and bring Mjolnir down upon the cannibal's head? Okana soloed away on the stage and beat the rest of the field by 6 minutes. He put a full 9 minutes into Eddie Merckx. Mark Matteo, now the team principal of Groupama FDJ, remembers the stage well. He said it was the race of the century, the greatest victory in the pantheon of cycling. Never before had anyone beaten Eddie like that. He had an almost 10-minute lead over Merckx on GC by the end of the day. And when he donned the beautiful Maillot jaune, was the cycling world witnessing a changing of the guard. Upon watching the stage finish today, I ask myself and you, dear readers, the same question. Certainly, a new generation is rising in cycling, but is there really a changing of the guard taking place in the peloton as well? Is there a new sheriff or a whole new team of marshals in town? Unlike 1971, where individuals rode like Greek and Trojan heroes whose duels and clashes shook the earth, in these days the individual heroes still exist, but they are supported by legendary fighting units. Think of King Leonidas with his 300 Spartans, or the Byzantine Emperor's Varangian Guard. For nigh on a decade now, Team Sky and their further Ineos iteration have dominated the Tour de France and all other stage races as well, for that matter. We have all grown accustomed to seeing them stranglehold the peloton up the Pyrenean and Alpine climbs, riding at a tempo where no rider could sustain an attack. Valiant men would still try, but they would wilt and be brought back into the fold quickly by Sky's relentless pace, soon to be chewed up and spit out the back of the group where they would lose minutes on the day for their attempt. It was pure folly to attack them. Yes, there were years where they were not at the top of their game, most notably last year, when they did not have an answer to the goofy antics and heroics of our brave musketeer. But even then, in the final days, they stamped down their authority and finished first and second overall on GC. With such a system, the team has produced 4 separate individual tour winners: Bradley Wiggins, Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas, and Egan Bernal. 7 tour titles, 2 Vuelta a España victories, and 1 Giro d'Italia triumph as well. And they seem to have warmed to the idea of being the dominant overlords early on when they famously nicknamed their new cutting-edge 22nd century team bus the Death Star. But that was the past. This is the present. And in this sport, you are only as good as your last race. Has a new power arisen to finally challenge their dominance? It certainly seems like it after the events of today. If you have read my tour preview from a few days ago, you know who this challenger is. Surely, Ineos has never had their hands as full as they do with this Jumbo-Visma team. After multiple Category 3 hors d'oeuvres, the peloton reached the bottom of Orsières-Merlet. The sprinters and pretenders had been shelled. It was time for the contenders to rise to the top. Julian Alaphilippe's Quick-Step team did good work reeling in the final stragglers on the breakaway still out front. Riders from UAE Team Emirates and Arkea Samsic did good turns to ratchet up the pace as well. The pace on the front rose and rose, and riders did not drop out of the back in 1s and 2s, but in 3s and 5s. After one admirable attack from Pierre Roland of B&V Vital Concept was reeled in by Mikel Nieve of Mitchelton Scott, only the greatest riders were left. Finally, a few kilometers later, Nieve, low-key one of the greatest domestiques of all time, swung off the front. Job done. He had emptied the tank for teammates Adam Yates and Esteban Chavez, both of Mitchelton Scott, and then the Jumbo-Visma clinic began. Wout van Aert of Jumbo-Visma took up the pacing. Yes, the winner of the sprint in Milan-San Remo was not only still here, but looking strong on the very front. Look at the cyclocrosser here on a Category 1 climb of the Tour de France, ratcheting up the pace to untenable levels for all save the finest climbers in the world. What a Swiss Army knife this man is. I dare say the most versatile rider in the peloton. In one long line, he had them all strung out. Van Aert, Kwiatkowski of Ineos Grenadiers, Bernal, Alaphilippe, Higuita of EF, Kuss of Jumbo-Visma, Roglic of Jumbo-Visma, Pinot of Groupama FDJ, Quintana of Arkea Samsic, and many more scraped to hold the wheels behind. Wout rode at such a ferocious tempo, why he looked like an eager sled dog strapped up with a team of bunnies. No, that is too strong an exaggeration, dear readers. Some behind still looked very strong, as I'm about to tell. But I tell you, if Egan Bernal was not on the rivet, he was close to it. Bernal was not up for such a pace today, but others were. Our musketeer, Alaphilippe, was fidgeting in the finale as usual, tightening up his shoes for the sprint at the top of the bestial climb. And Wout's teammates Sepp Kuss and Primož Roglič looked cool as cucumbers, dialed in for such a sprint as well. Finally, with only 1.5 kilometers remaining, Van Aert swung off the front. His torturous turn was over. Ineos's Kwiatkowski was next in line. Would he sustain the relentless pace? No. And within a blink of an eye, Sepp Kuss notched up the pace even harder than Van Aert, his teammate, all in service of Roglič. Yes, it became clear. Kuss shall be Roglic's final right-hand man this tour, as he was at the Vuelta last year. Sepp Kuss, born in the mountains of Colorado, is poised to be the top domestique of this tour, and I think his chief competition will come from in-house, Van Aert. With Sepp on the front, it was only the top contenders left, those in with a shout for Paris. The way they swung around the hairpins and charged straight up each daunting slope, it looked as if they were on rails. With 500 meters to go, a surprise attack from Guillaume Martin of Cofidis. My, this man has been flying at a new level since lockdown. Martin's attack was strong and impressive, but still too many of the favorites matched him. Superman Lopez, Quintana, and Alaphilippe were all keeping up as well, but it was the Slovenians who dropped the hammer. With 200 meters to go, Primož Roglič, the champion of Slovenia and captain of Jumbo-Visma, launched his sprint on the final drag up to the line to win the stage. Alaphilippe, the musketeer, couldn't even match him this day, only managing 5th. Quintana snuck in for 4th. Martin still finished in an impressive 3rd despite his big attack. But it was the other Slovenian, Tadej Pogačar of UAE, almost a decade Roglic's junior, who finished 2nd. A Slovenian won too, Pog and Rog. Who 5 years ago could have predicted the tiny country to produce not only 1, but 2 cycling stars of such quality? Meanwhile, Bernal finished an almost anonymous 7th on the day, receiving the same time as the final bunch. So, was today the beginning of a formal changing of the guard? Today, the breakneck death march pace was set by Jumbo-Visma. Ineos had to strap in for the ride, just like all the other teams have done for years as they were on the front. And of course, Jumbo-Visma finished off the job, a dominating style. Roglič with the win. With the time bonus, he now has a 10-second lead on Bernal and most of the other favorites. Pogačar and Martin receive 6 and 4 seconds, respectively, and Alaphilippe narrowly maintains his GC lead to keep yellow. Surely, Jumbo-Visma is in the driver's seat. Perhaps it is even their tour to lose. And yet, perhaps this is speaking too soon. Jumbo-Visma is certainly in the driver's seat as Luis Ocana was in 1971. But, dear readers, the memories of 1971 do not end happily for Ocana. Merckx was surely impressed by Ocana's performance that the Tour pays homage to today. He reportedly said, "Today Ocana has tamed us like El Cordobés in the bull ring tames his bulls." Surely Merckx knew he was not going to beat Ocana climbing that Tour at this point. And so, as Bradley Wiggins details in his book Icons, Merckx let the temperamental Ocana beat himself. A few days later, when the race reached the Pyrenees, a thunderstorm struck while they were high in the passes. Merckx attacked down the wet roads of the Col de Métis descent. It was incredibly dangerous. Many crashed, including Merckx himself. But the biggest casualty of the day was Luis Ocana, who crashed right near Merckx. His screams of pain are captured in one of cycling's most memorable and heartbreaking photographs. Look it up, dear readers. Google images. Luis Ocana, Col de Métis. Look at his face. Surely he's in physical distress, but the emotional trauma must be even worse. He knew, by then, he had lost the Tour de France. In 1971, there was no changing of the guard. The cannibal won his 3rd Tour, while that day, in the rain, Ocana was airlifted to the hospital to treat his injuries. So here we are in 2020, dear readers. This Jumbo-Visma team seemed to have the right stuff to topple the Ineos giant, but they haven't yet. What will happen? Bernal perhaps showed weakness and was relatively isolated, but he still finished with the leaders. Cast your minds back to the Tour last year, where Bernal lost significant time in the Po time trial as well, and many thought his dreams of yellow were crushed that day, and he would need to work for Geraint Thomas. It is stage 4 of 21. Surely it is too early to say the guard has changed. although maybe we will look back and say it has. But before we end, let's throw one more spanner into the mix. Jumbo-Visma might walk away with this tour, but who will be in yellow in Paris? Primož Roglič looks like the best rider in the world today, but quietly, in 11th place with the leaders was Tom Dumoulin. He is a man of class, but he is also a champion. Surely, if his chances are dashed, then he will sacrifice himself for Roglič each day. But his hopes and dreams and the fire in his heart are well kindled at the moment. Dumoulin was the winner of the 2017 Giro and runner-up in both the 2018 Giro and Tour. Surely such a man wants and is owed his shot at yellow, if he is still in the hunt. And as I said in the preview, Roglič has come out swinging as he did at the Dauphiné and warm-up races before that, and as he did at the Giro and its lead-up races last year. But Roglič did not win the Giro. Meanwhile, Dumoulin has quietly been building form, finishing better every race, every stage, and he has been able to ride carefree and easy while all the cameras and microphones are on the flashy Slovenian champ. Will struggles arise within the team? Can two leaders maintain cohesion for the whole 3 weeks? Then, of course, besides the clash of titans Jumbo must wage with Ineos, there is still the pesky business of controlling a certain musketeer wearing the yellow jersey. A job last year that required all hands on deck from the Ineos team. Jumbo-Visma and the Tour are off to a great start, but this is the Tour de France. We must not get carried away on stage 4, no matter how good Van Aert, Kuss, and Roglič looked. There are many more chapters to be written. Let us hope the plot thickens, with many appropriate twists and turns still to come. All right, let's see. How was I saying? I was saying Okana, I think, in this episode, and then I realized, is it Okanya? You know the difference? Okana. I was saying Okana. I don't know Spanish at all. Is there like a funny little symbol that's above like one of the A's or something too that I didn't realize because I was just typing out the name or writing out the name in English all this time? Anyways, I had definitely heard of that tour where he takes the lead from Merckx, and I think I did know that he did it on such a big day. I did not know that this was the finishing climb where that happened until I was watching the broadcast that day, and the announcers, the whole, just the ASO, the whole broadcasting organization just played some like kind of black and white legends clips that were like 2 minutes long. They did that a lot this tour, and I loved it. That's the kind of stuff I'm into with cycling. I'm not one of those power nerds, or I really can't tell you about bike parts either, and I ride bikes pretty often. But yeah, but the history of it, obviously, Cycling Odysseys, that's what you're here for. That's what I'm in for. And that, I think, is one of the greatest aspects of cycling, obviously. The racing's good too. I like that, and I especially love watching the domestiques work for the team leader. I think that's really cool. Speaking of domestiques work for their team leaders, dude, Wout van Aert this stage, unbelievable. I've been, at this point I've been watching. Well, you'll hear tomorrow. I've been watching Wout for for like 5 years now. And then just to see him doing this is just unreal, buddy. I mean, love it. One of my favorite riders out there. So impressive, especially when you see what he does tomorrow. Hear about what he does tomorrow. Pretty great. Also, if you'll notice, I did like a preview episode it's way too long, so I don't even want to attempt to touch it again. But I think I picked Bernal to win this tour in that preview episode, just because I think I was trying to actually be realistic and then just playing the safe bet. Like, Ineos always wins. I'll just take Bernal, He's only a year older, but that's a year stronger for his age. And so I basically admitted, he was having a bad day today, but I really did not think it would be a problem. I thought he was just going to get stronger throughout the race, and that would be great. Little did I know. And there were a lot of people jumping on the Roglič train here. Clearly, I thought that was too early. Well, I don't know. Maybe you don't know what happens this whole tour, so I'll just leave it there for now. Yeah. Fun reliving it. I think I'll do a couple team previews next again. We'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do team previews next. And yeah, with that, 5-star review on iTunes. That'd be great. Gonna read those soon, promise. And then let's see, Twitter, Cycling Odysseys, cyclingodysseys@gmail.com if you want to send me an email. And the blog itself, cyclingodysseys.com, if you just want to read it instead of hearing my voice. Fair enough. Totally don't blame me at all. And yeah, with that, this is another episode done. Vive le cyclisme.